The featured company is a paid client of Proactive Group Holdings, and this recording is disseminated by Proactive on its behalf.
It really demonstrates the cash generation potential that exists within Ecora. And looking to the future over the course of 2026, absent of acquisitions, we anticipate further meaningful deleveraging.
Hello, you're watching Proactive. I'm joined by Ecora Resources CEO Marc Bishop Lafleche. Marc, very good to speak with you. You're on with our third quarter trading update this morning, which included record results across a number of key metrics. Could you walk us through some of the highlights, please?
Well, it was a great quarter, a very strong quarter, one that really continues the momentum we've seen so far this year. In the period, we saw a 112% increase in the portfolio contribution compared to the second quarter of this year. And inclusive in that is really strong performance from our base metals royalties, where we saw a portfolio contribution of just under 10 million, 9.9. And that represents 87% growth for the second quarter of this year, but also 150% growth if you measure that against the first 9 months of this year compared to the same period in 2024. So a lot to be happy about there. We saw mining at Kestrel return to our royalty area in the period. And we also, in the period, announced the sale of a non-core development stage gold royalty for up to 20 million, of which 16.5 million is payable at close, which has enabled us to accelerate our deleveraging and in time potentially reallocate those proceeds towards acquiring royalties that are within a core area of our commodity focus.
Marc, you mentioned that record performance from the base metals portfolio, and Voisey's Bay seems to have performed especially well. You're upgrading your full year guidance for Voisey's Bay. Can you give us some details behind that?
Yeah, well, Voisey's Bay's had another really strong quarter. Actually, it's a record both in terms of cobalt entitlement and portfolio contribution. And this has really been driven on by a very steep continued ramp up of the underground mining operations at Voisey's Bay. So on the back of the asset operationally performing very well, and cobalt deliveries we've seen year to date, but also expected in the fourth quarter, we've upgraded our full year 2025 guidance from 365 to 390 tons up to 434 to 448 tons. Next year, we expect well over 500 tons. And this is all in the backdrop of some very strong cobalt price tailwinds. So today, the alloy grade cobalt midpoint price is approximately $24.50 per pound. And that compares to $14 per pound at the start of the year, which effectively means that for every ton of alloy grade that we receive today, for illustrative purposes, that's currently equivalent to 1.75 tons of cobalt on the price levels, January 1, opening of the year.
Not only Voisey's Bay, but the copper portfolio also appears to have performed well.
Yeah, well, two records there, actually. Record portfolio contribution from Mantos Blancos. We continue to see strong operational performance at that asset. And this is in advance of the release of a potential phase 2 expansion at Mantos Blancos that's expected to come next year. At another producing copper exposure of ours, Mimbula, we've continued to see volume growth. Q3 was actually the best quarter yet. And we have a line of sight on further volume growth into Q4 this year and into 2026 as well.
It's great to hear the progress for the producing assets, but Ecora's also reported some key milestones for development stage royalties. Could you tell us a bit more about these?
The focal point for the de-risking events during the period is probably Santo Domingo, where we have seen a Capstone enter into a JV partnership agreement with Orion Resource Partners, where Orion Resource Partners is to buy 25% of the Santo Domingo project, with the proceeds contributing towards the capital costs associated with bringing the mine into production. And that's a really major milestone for that project's development. The next key milestone is expected to be next year, which is subject to fully financing the project, a final investment decision, and that's expected by Capstone in the second half of next year. And the reason I mention it as the focal point, this royalty does provide transformational growth potential for Ecora. Over the first 7 years, the royalty is expected to generate an average of $30 to $35 million per annum. And that's assuming current copper price and current prices for other byproducts. We've also seen other de-risking events across our portfolio, including the Nifty Copper Project restart, the Palabora Rare Earths Project, the Amapra Project, and continued further exceptional drilling results at NextGen's Patterson Quarter East Project.
You leveraged up in the first quarter for the Mimbula transaction, but you've managed to significantly delever since then.
Yeah, as I mentioned just now, we're very pleased with the pace of debt reduction. We've now reduced net debt by over 30% from levels in the first quarter of this year when we completed the acquisition of the Mimbula copper stream for $50 million. And if you include the royalty receivables that are with respect to the royalty entitlement in the third quarter that will or have already been received in the month of October, at the end of the month, we expect to be in a position of net debt around $87 million, which is actually very similar to the levels of net debt at the start of the year. So in other words, to be approximately 7 months past that acquisition, to be at net debt levels that are very similar to where we started is a great accomplishment. It really demonstrates the cash generation potential that exists within Ecora. And looking to the future over the course of 2026, absent of acquisitions, we anticipate further meaningful deleveraging.
I mean, looking ahead towards the end of the year and into 2026, Marc, what should investors expect to see and which royalties are you most excited about?
Yeah, well, there's a lot to be excited about. Why don't we start with the volume growth in 26? So next year, we expect to see continued volume growth at Mimbula and Voisey Bay as these assets continue to ramp up. We also expect to see more de-risking milestones, potentially at Santo Domingo, Nifty, Palabora, potentially West Musgrave as well. We're also seeing really strong price tailwinds in copper, cobalt, and uranium. So all in all, I think we feel very upbeat about the direction of travel of the portfolio into the fourth quarter next year and beyond.
Well, Marc, I hope you'll continue to keep us posted on your progress. Congratulations on today's numbers.
Thanks for having me.
That's Marc Bishop Lafleche, CEO of Ecora Resources.
The featured company is a paid client of Proactive Group Holdings, and this recording is disseminated by Proactive on its behalf. It is for informational purposes only and does not constitute investment advice, an offer, or a solicitation to buy or sell any securities. Viewers should conduct their own research and consult a qualified financial advisor before making investment decisions. The views expressed are those of the speaker and do not necessarily reflect those of Proactive Group Holdings, trading as Proactive Investors or its affiliates. No responsibility is accepted for any loss arising from reliance on the information presented.